Hi, it's been a little bit.
That's good.
Yeah, I know.
Good callback.
I know, because I remembered that you said that.
Yeah. After that entire game, right?
Yeah, that's the ticket.
Yep. All right, so we're back from playing Mansions of Madness, 2nd edition. You got to see us play through the game. I guess you should have gotten a good feel by watching us. We actually filmed it so that
you could see the screen.
You could see the screen. So if you didn't watch it, you can go back and check, and you'll be able to see that.
At least watch us click through a couple things, because hopefully, if you watched a little bit of the gameplay, if you couldn't tell exactly what was going on the screen from us talking, you could, like, the interface is really, really good.
Yeah.
They do a really good job, and it's thought out in such a way that it's kind of hard to make a mistake,
right?
Which is really important for the way that this game is supposed to play. Because if you could go to, like, the clues and what are they called? The door openings. I forget what they're called. Like, one of them, you know what I'm talking about. I forget the names of them now, but, like, the thing that's on the door. And
the red one, right?
Right. Like, the red one. Anyways, my point is, like, when you click it, it tells you, and it tells you if this is going to be an action or not. And the key word there being action, so you know that, like, if I click this thing again, I took an action.
Yep.
Otherwise, back out. That's not where you want it to be. If you remember when we talked about it, we try to not just hop around and look at stuff. The intention is usually, like, we're only double checking, like, if we've talked to a person.
Yeah.
We're not like, oh, look at this room's open, I'm going to click here and look at all the clues.
Yeah, that definitely
because
takes
that
away
feels
from it.
like you're cheating a little bit. It's like, if I'm going to go investigate this, plan on taking an action if it tells you to take an action. And like I said, the exception to that being, like, with the characters, we would be like, well, let's see if he brings up something new to say, and if he doesn't, then it's like, oh, okay, we're done.
Options, it's like,
so we felt like that was perfectly, like, a perfectly valid thing to do. So, although there isn't really anything in the rules that say you can't do what I just said, that would be, to me, the downside if there was a bad side to the app. It's like, because not necessarily the information that comes up is warrants having an action. Like, it's good flavor and it's good to drive the story and everything else, but you shouldn't go around looking at the whole board unless you're there ready to do it. What do you got? I feel like I'm flapping, Jeb.
No. I mean, first thing should be, you like it, thumbs up, thumbs down. It's a thumbs up. So good. One of the games that we wish we got to the table more. I wish I had every expansion, and I wish I could play like all the time. Only because I know it's not a dungeon, but it's the kind of stuff that both him and I really, really like. And like I said, I also love the Lovecraftian.
Well,
stuff.
I know
like
you do, but I mean,
it's
like because we didn't. And neither of us have tried the Descent app, because that never existed, and this already came in, and we were like, whoa, this app is awesome. I mean, the way that it takes you, it keeps track of everything. You don't have all kinds of silly, well, not silly, but you don't have counters on the board that you have to move around when the monster moves. You don't have... All you have to do is pay attention on the screen to the colors. I don't have to take that little chip and put it on the monster so that I know if there's 3 of the same type out there. It's doing all that stuff for me. I mean, I do have to be a little bit careful to make sure I click on the right one, but it's kind of obvious that's the one I should be
I'm not like
attacking.
A super huge fan of having to consult, like, an app or something to play a board game, because it's like, I want to play a board game, I don't want to play a video game or whatever.
Right.
So, like, I kind of like it separated between non-technology and not. But having played the 1st edition of this and then playing the 2nd edition with the app, it cuts down on so much, and it helps out. And I'm like, okay, that's an exception to my...
It honestly feels... It doesn't feel it feels like a proper aid in the game.
Yep.
And it lets you play, it lets everybody play. Whereas, not that everybody didn't get to play before, but everybody gets to play as an investigator now. Now, I'm sure that there are those people that really enjoyed the aspect of being, I'm the mansion, I'm going to go get you, I can't wait to see this happen. And sure, that gets eliminated. First edition still exists if you want to, you go do it. There's little things like in the setup that you would have taken, you would have gone through the instructions, you would have looked at a room, and it would have told you what cards and how you had to stack them go on that room. And inevitably, here's what happens too. You're looking at the board, because the whole board, unlike this, the whole board's set up at once. I look around the board and I'm like, that's an awful thick stack. What do? You run to that room.
Kind of think you gotta go there.
You gotta kind of think that you gotta go there. When you can't see anything, and you don't know how many cards are in a room, it makes the mystery so much better.
It makes you pay attention to all the flavor and
stuff. It really
stuff.
Does, because it was, I can't say enough good things about the way that it all falls together. And the support, they keep coming out with expansions for it. I'm so far behind now. It's one of those ones that I will probably chip away at just to make sure they don't go out of print, because it's one that'll, it'll stay on the shelf, for a long time. If for some reason they ever went out of business, I suspect that somebody would get the rights to the app to keep it going, I'm guessing. That's usually what happens with those types of things. Anyways, I don't see that happening. I'm just, because the game would, as it sits now, it would be dead without the app. You can't play second edition regular, so to speak.
Yeah, it's not like take away the app, you got first edition. Right. No. There's a reason why it's the second edition.
And they did do conversions. If you have first edition, you can throw all the stuff you have so you don't lose that. I haven't done that yet. I kind of plan to, probably, because why not? Which is in one way kind of a bummer. I wish I could sell first edition, but if I sell first edition, then I can't use the first edition stuff in second edition. I always hope to recoup a little bit money. It's not going to happen in this case. I don't know. I can't think of too much else. I mean, they didn't take away your ability to chuck dice. They didn't take away your ability to find the stuff. And when you find something, you still get the card that matches it. All the stuff for the investigator is basically the same, except for consulting the app, going into rooms and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I played both editions, but, when I was playing the second one, and we started it up, and the app was going, and I guess I went over to, a butler or somebody, and I started talking to him. He's like, yeah, the master of the house is down this hall, there's a bedroom or something like that. Normally in games, I would just be like, oh, I just gotta go down the hall. But then, in this game, it had it set up where there was a hallway, but there were 3 or 4 different rooms in that hallway, and I was like, he didn't say which one was the bedroom. And it's not a game where it's like, oh, you open a door, nothing happens. No, it's you open a door, there might be a monster or something.
Right. So and that's a perfect example of, I think, kind of like what I was trying to say about not being able to see. Your illustration, I think, did it better, because that's the kind of stuff that before you would have been like, oh, second hallway, it's right up there.
Yeah.
And then you just start moving towards there. Now and if you play like we told everybody to play, if I pick this door, I'm going through that door.
Yep, and that's your action.
Right.
I just felt really immersed into the game. I don't, some board games I'm not immersed in it as well, I guess. So I don't know if it's just this game or if it was because of the help of the app or what, but that's how I felt when I was playing it, and that made me enjoy it even more.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The stories are good too.
Yeah.
I mean, it keeps progressing as you're going along.
There's some crazy stuff that happens.
And it's like it makes it. it makes it fun, and then the tension, the tension builds up, especially, it, you get to the computer's turn. I forget, why is that slipping my... But anyways, you know what I'm talking about.
Mythos
Bad guy
phase?
turn. Mythos phase. Whatever. And, you're always on the edge of your seat when you're clicking that mouse, is it's like, please say nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
Please say nothing happens.
And then, like, as you're going on further in the game, you start noticing it gets harder. Like,
Oh, yeah.
like more bad stuff comes out. I think one of them, there was kind of a timer that got triggered that we were like, we got to finish this now or we're going to die.
Yep.
And guess what happened?
Yeah, definitely a tough game. So, yeah, I mean,
you already mentioned it. Somebody who wouldn't like it is if you really enjoy the DM, having a DM versus people.
Right.
But I think that kind of depends on your group and how often you can play it. We don't play this game that often, so we would rather do a co-op than a one versus many.
I mean, actually, most of the time I'd rather do a co-op anyways.
Yeah.
I don't... I mean, it's not that I didn't ever... Like, I DM'd Descent a couple of times. And it's not that I didn't... I mean, there is some fun in, like, screwing the player over or whatever. But I would say, as a whole, I prefer the cooperative games where the game has its own AI. I just kind of like that a little... Just me personally.
Humans versus the game.
There's something about beating the game that's satisfying.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not that...
Telling that to the guy who plays Lord of the Rings with
you. I mean, I mean, it's just as satisfying as if you would have been, playing against the guy that, that set up the game or is trying to get you back. In my opinion, it is. And then... being able to sit at the table and play the same thing as everybody else is. And it's not, I realize that that's not the case for everybody, and I know, I mean, this has been out a long time.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the reasons why we didn't rush to get it. It was,
That's why it's not a bonus episode.
Yeah, and that's true, but, I mean, it's one that deserves to be in our video library so you can get our opinion of it, because it is such a great game, but again, understanding that, if you're that person that remembers, like I got to use to, control this in first edition, you're not finding that here. So if that was your main reason for liking first edition, then you don't want second edition.
Right.
If you found first edition a little bit cumbersome, and a really cool game, but didn't find table time because it took you an hour and a half to set it up, and you had to tell people to go in the other room, which you literally were supposed to do, then this is pop up the screen, open the app, select what scenario, and and you can select, scenarios have the difficulty. But as your collection grows of this, you tell the computer what you own, and it knows what it can bring into the game when you're playing it. And there's also app exclusive type of things that you can buy for scenarios and stuff based on what you get. So you're not even limited to the scenario. Like as soon as you buy a new box and you say, "Hey, I have this box," it opens up a certain amount of scenarios because it knows you have that. They also have, because they like money, ones that you can buy straight on the app based on certain things you have, and then you can play those to keep it going, and you don't have to buy any more components.
Which I'd totally buy if we got to play this all the time.
Absolutely, because before, if you were going to have a new scenario, you bought a new box. Now they have the ability to add new scenarios based on what they program.
And that's what I'm finding I like more is, like, if I buy a game, I'm more leaning towards just sell me a new scenario pack or something like that. Like, I don't have to have new components. I mean, maybe once in a while it's fine, but, I mean, just getting the scenarios without having to do that, and something new, and you don't have a bunch of space taken up.
Yeah. So, I don't... I was trying to think of... I was leading into likes and who would like and who wouldn't like.
I was going to say that it is a Lovecraftian game, and by now there's been a ton of Lovecraftian games that are out there, all kinds of different types of games, And I've even read some people like, yeah, it's got oversaturated. It's kind of become what zombies were, and
Yeah,
then,
I mean,
I guess vampires before
it's
that.
not hard to find Cthulhu on the front of something.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're kind of sick of that, then probably don't want this. But I mean,
yeah, but now I will play devil's advocate, but this was out before a lot of that stuff that's
true.
oversaturating. So it's got that going for it, and
yes,
and like I said, Jeb and I both give it a big thumbs up. So if you want a classic,
yeah.
Not that some of the new stuff doesn't do things well, but this is really good.
Mm-hmm.
There's a time investment of it, so they did do a good job of telling. They give you a guesstimate on each scenario how long it's going to take, so you can at least scroll through and be like, okay, I don't want a 3-hour one right now.
I'm gonna pick the hour and a half one because I lose in an hour.
Yeah, there you go. But so they did a good job. So I guess this one is a lot of times is a longer game.
Yes.
So you do have that. There still is a little bit of not massive setup, but it's nice to have your tiles separated because you don't know what you're going to be picking out of. Have the monsters set up on the side. Unless you glue them when you buy them, they're all falling apart in there right now.
Oh.
All that kind of stuff. You do need to, look at the character card, get your starting supplies, whatever it's called, and which is that's app driven too. But my point is, there is a little bit of setup, compared to some other things. I wouldn't say overly a lot. I think. To me, the worst part is resetting up the freaking monsters. Eventually, I'm going to glue them so that they're not falling out all the time because that's a lot easier. Maybe even paint them.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
Don't get silly.
Wow.
That's not going to happen before Star Wars stuff gets painted. Right? Maybe here and there. There's some massive groups that can be painted black. Yeah.
I was going to say. The box says 14 plus. I'm kind of thinking of, this isn't really for a new gamer, but I don't think it's super difficult to play. There are something, you've got to manage, the wounds and sanity stuff. You will have to manage some things, so...
Some of the 14 might come from theme.
That could be. Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit of a more mature theme. I mean, it's not over-the-top gory or anything, but...
Yeah, I just... don't think it's something a non-gamer would start with.
Oh, no.
I'd have them play something before, at
least to find out. But yeah. I would say in terms of how it runs so smooth now that you might be able to take a medium gamer and say, hey, do you want to try this? Or, especially around, Halloween time or something, if you're having a gaming party or maybe not even a gaming party, but if you're having a Halloween party and you'll be like, hey, you want to try this game, explain to them how it's really cool, you're investigators, there's something spooky going on, you might be able to convince them to sit down, that type of thing. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities. I agree with Jeb. It's certainly not an intro game, but you might be able to get somebody that's a little into it to at least take a stab at it. That would be my opinion. So,
I think last things to remember. One of the biggest ones when you said setting up is when you finish the game. It helps so much if you put all the cards in alphabetical order, all the items. Yeah,
it actually tells you to do that.
Yeah,
because when you're searching, trying to find some of the items and that type of thing, if you mix them up, you're looking for days. If they're in alphabetical order, right where to go. Right. And we have actually tried to make sure they're in that. Until you get used to the game, there's actually, speaking of the items, I don't know, I think this kind of goes along a thing to remember. Some of the piles get confusing. Because there's items and then there's special items and then there's spells and they're all the small cards and it if you play it, you'll see what I mean. It's just like it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I don't, okay, you know. Besides the wound and the sanity cards, like some of the other ones they kind of blend in together. I guess is the best way to say it. But so, yeah.
And then another thing is, if you take all your wounds, you're not out immediately. You get the wounded condition, and then they clear out, and then you have to lose that way again to
So that helps a little bit. But then you have if you go insane, then you have that special condition where you might be a maniac running around the house too.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. That's what it's such an awesome thing that they put in with it.
And honestly, with the app being in it, like, things to remember aren't that bad, because the app will tell you what phase is when, and then I think you have to click when the investigators are done with all their stuff. So
you have to tell it when it's done, and it asks you, are you sure that you want to go into the different phases, which is really good. There are certainly some things you still need to be aware of, like you can't. I mean, you would ruin the game if you skip over the monsters attacking, or if you did any of that.
Or if you're like, I just took five actions.
You could easily cheat on it. Like, why you would want to cheat on it is beyond me. But you could be like, I one-shotted that monster and I never got a hit. The computer doesn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, so if the app is only as good as the information you feed it, and it's not hard to feed it the information that it wants.
Right.
So. I don't know. Now I feel like I'm kind of running on with it. I think you guys get the picture. I got to be honest. I don't even know. I know we started to talk about who wouldn't like it. Other than a person that doesn't really like a long game, this is one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
That I would almost say. You can almost get anybody to play. I know there's got to be people out there that don't like it and think it's stupid, but I'm just amazed with it.
I was just gonna say I like it a ton. The only reason I haven't bought it is because Mickey has it, and if I bought it, then that's just another copy that won't be played that often. So,
I mean, it's like, he keeps trying. I mean, we live an hour apart, and he gets excited. He's like, I'm going to a board game night with my other friends, and he gets there and they watch YouTube.
That's happened.
Not always, but I mean, he's like, or they want to play. I won't even say the words.
Oh yeah. That game that shall not be named.
And it's not Monopoly.
Yeah.
So anyways, not that he doesn't have a good time, but he gets kind of like, I brought all this really cool stuff. We're not playing any of them, Chip. None. Anyways.
Yep.
All right, I think you guys got the point.
If you have any questions,
if we didn't cover something
in the comments, make a comment. Let us know if we did anything wrong or what your thoughts are.
Yep.
Like always, if there's a game you want us to get to, tell us. We'll prioritize it. Not many people ask, so if you ask, you'll have a really good chance of it being.
Or if you want to see us get we don't usually say this, but if you see a game and you want us to get to a scenario that you guys had trouble with, and see if we can beat it.
Watch us try to beat it.
Watch us try to beat it.
Yeah.
I mean, that just gives us an excuse to get a game that we like back to the table.
Yeah.
I mean, because we'll do it. I mean, Gloomhaven's going strong, and we still have people checking them out, and I'm more than happy to do something
random
of that
scenarios.
random scenario if you get. I mean, unless it's something you want to see, then we're not going to record it just because. But we certainly would to see, maybe to see how, if we approach it different than you guys did or something like that. Anyways, I got nothing else, dude.
I'm done too.
All right,
so,
see ya.
Boards and booze, booze and boards, with Mickey and Jeb.